Hello there, my friends, and welcome back to Carpo's channel. How are my peeps? How's everybody doing today? I only ask that not because I'm obligated, but because I actually care. And, which brings me to the title of this video. I was going to make this yesterday, but I don't really think of titles for videos usually till after I make them. I just start talking. But in this case, it's going to be something along the lines of, sometimes I don't give a shit, and sometimes I give a shit a lot. For lack of a better way to define it. And this goes for everything. There are just so many things I want to talk about on YouTube and with family and friends. I mean, the reason why I make videos is because you all want to listen. And I think that's awesome. Do I let it go to my head and let my ego go, oh, I'm so great? No, actually I look down on myself still. I still feel awkward after 8, 9 years making videos. Thank God, what a waste of time. Why am I doing this? But something pulls me to do it, so I keep doing it. And I'm hoping one day I'll know why. But for now, I'm just passing on information. And in the process over the years, I've had so many moments. I mean, anybody who's followed my channel for a while knows that I'm the king of having big ideas about what I want to do with my channel and then doing nothing. I'm like, all right, I'm going to start editing these videos and doing some nice videos. And other times I'm just like, man, I don't give a shit. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And I guess what got me thinking about this, I was thinking earlier about how, for example, some channels on YouTube and elsewhere, you can say the same things that I'm saying in a much more condensed format, put some nice background music to it, and some stock photos and videos of people walking by the sunset and talk about Taoism and Buddhism and say, ooh, you know, people will fall into that because all of us are visually attracted to things that are well orchestrated and organized, and a nice little short to the point video that has, you know, basically eye candy and ear candy, having music. Personally, and I use this example, you know, like Alan Watts, or any speaker, you know, if people they'll take their speeches and then they'll put them, you know, inspiring background music behind it. For short clips, that's okay, but for an entire video, it's really annoying to me. And I realize that a lot of folks, I mean, this all may sound off subject, but it's not. This is why I feel defeated sometimes in like having these plans of something I want to do with my channel and then saying, oh, screw it. I just don't have the patience for this, or my brain is not organized this way. And so I started off by using the YouTube example, but really everything in life is this way. You know, with politics, my wife knows this better than anyone. One week I'm just like, I don't give a shit about politics. I don't care what happens, whatever. This nation's screwed anyway. And then the next day I'm like, I really got to share this with people because I really feel this way. I mean, not just politics, but like what's going on in the world, the economy, the environment. And I try to share those things and then just get kind of like discouraged by the people out there who are like, oh, things are fine the way they are. The old meme with the house burning down and the dog says, this is fine. Take that how you will, but we're all stuck in the burning house. In our own lives too. Even when the world's fine, even if you know, a particular religion's right and the world continues on and we die and go to heaven, all these different ideas don't change the fact that we have to live a complicated life right now, and there is suffering and pain in this life. So it's easy to get discouraged, you know, with everything that's going on. Like I was going to make a video earlier about the banking system and what's going on right now, and I might still make it, but I figure it just would fall on deaf ears. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the economy, really. I have 2 books, Behold a Pale Horse, or no, not that one. That's one, but that's not related to this. The Creature from Jekyll Island, which is like 900 pages long, about the Federal Reserve and the monetary system. And then another one my wife got me for, called Capital by Thomas Piketty. It's, I think, 600 or 700 pages as well. And it's all about economics, rich versus poor, the disparity in wealth. And recently there's been some talk in certain channels about what's going on with the economy and how the banks have been bailing out. They've been putting out $75 billion a day to the banks for these, what they call the repo loans. This is basically loans that banks pass back and forth between each other. The banks aren't able to loan each other. Their interest rates between each other have gone from like 2% to like 5.5%. In other words, people who know better are saying the economy is looking like we're going to go into a recession. But the government is sitting there with this is fine, everything's okay. And may all sound off topic to the subject at hand, which is about, sometimes I give a shit, sometimes I don't. I use that example because I do care and want to share information, but at the same time, I wonder what good is it going to do to tell people to take their money out of the bank or to be careful and keep an eye on it. If the shit hits the fan, it's going to hit the fan. And it leads me into these, I think about the conspiracy videos. Years ago, I was into conspiracies, and basically, I was kind of I felt like everything was going to fall apart. And I still feel like everything's going to fall apart, but as the sirens start up. But I'm a little bit more cautious about it. I went through my prepper phase, and I don't obsess over any of it anymore. Whatever happens, happens. Meanwhile, I have to live my life, right? Well, I realized at the time I used to really give a shit about being prepared. But once I was prepared, I didn't give a shit anymore. And I think that that's... Maybe I just needed to hear that from myself. It makes me think about the reason why I care about things for a while and other times I don't. But all I've talked about is some basic scratching the surface. I mean, it's really hard to talk about these things and get them across to all you all without just rambling on about some specific aspect of it. Money, for example. Perfect example. I have money issues, man. If I had money, sometimes I tell myself, if I just had enough to be comfortable, then, or I could get paid to do what I love, say get paid for doing YouTube. Ridiculous thought, I know. But my real dream is to make videos and write books and share information. But I can't motivate myself to get from A to B yet. It's almost like I'm building up to it. And meanwhile learning, but there's a time when I really care about a subject. And then the next day I'm just like, just don't care anymore. And the perfect example is the book I'm writing about the opioid crisis. It's actually about the pharmaceutical industry, but I'll get really into it and I'll write like a dozen pages and then I'll just leave it on the shelf for, a month, 2 months. It's been sitting basically for a year, slowly adding a little bit to it. And I guess what I'm getting at is it's important. I think one of the things I admire most in people is the ability for people to see what they want to do and then make it happen and be successful in that without getting stopped up on the way. And procrastinators like myself who wait to the last minute for everything, there are a lot of folks who make excuses to say, well, procrastinators have more time to think about it. And sometimes this is true, and you'll make a better decision if you think and you don't just act. But, I constantly admire the people that say do have money. I'm not going to name any particular people because anybody who's wealthy, people just seem to despise. But let's just say billionaires who are actually going around the world and trying to improve conditions for other people, regardless of why they do it. This kind of altruism that we have, if you break it down to the root, it's selfish. Everything we do is fucking selfish, so we got to get over that ego aspect of it. There's too much nitpicking at why we do things instead of saying, well, we do them. And part of the human system, we build our own values and our own judgment systems. And that brings me to another point I wanted to make. I change my mind a lot on issues, and I go back and forth, and I think that's important to learn. But I also found that I asked myself before I made this video, well, what is it that I don't change my mind on? Sure, there are a lot of things out there that sometimes I give a shit, other times I don't. Well, family is something that I always give a shit about. There's no time where I ever just said, well, I just want to move away and leave my family. Say with a job, you might love your job, and then the next week you're like, I want to get out of this job. And some people feel that way with their families, and I can't imagine the pain of that. But I just wanted to say I'm really grateful for having that connection to my family to where it's something I know I never feel wishy-washy about. And the other one is my values. And even though my values may slightly alter over time, my root core values don't change. And those are basically don't steal, don't lie, don't cheat, don't harm others. And those are pretty simple rules, A lot of things fall within harm. A lot of us justify by saying, well, I have to feed my family, so I'm going to steal from so-and-so. If I was poor, extremely poor, in a poverty-stricken area where we didn't have clean running water, and there was a store nearby where they sold high-end merchandise and I could steal it to feed my family, of course I would. Anybody would. And that's one of the reasons why we need to improve our society. That's why we need to care about everyone, each other. And I guess that brings me to maybe, how I should end this, talking about giving a shit and not giving a shit. Society itself is probably one of the ones I wrestle with the most. You know, I may change my mind and say, oh, I care about politics, I don't care about politics, or I need to make money to do great things, I was screwed, I don't want money, I'll just move in a cabin. All these different back and forth, ideas that I have, but the one that I'm most concerned about, I guess, is society, or most interested in why I'm so wishy-washy about this. I care so much about everyone. All of you people, everyone who comments on my videos. I try to respond as many as I can, but I get more comments than I used to, but I read every comment, and I care deeply about what other people think, not of me, but about the world, because it helps us understand and each other, and that's really the root of, I guess, what I'm trying to get to in all of the videos that I've done, in all of this. I really want to see people brought together, and even when I'm tearing down individuals or insulting a particular person, it's never to cause division. It's to show people that this person's full of shit and the other person's causing division. And that may sound like bullshit. What kind of justification is that? Like, for example, on my the End of the World podcast channel I just made a video about Jesse Lee Peterson, who, a guy was just so obnoxious and he was just so divisive that I had to talk shit about him because I couldn't help it. And I don't do that very often. But anyway, a lot of folks do want to just tear everyone else down. And by doing that without any purpose, just because another person has different values, even if you might get along, I know some of you subscribers out there are probably hardcore conservatives. There's probably some hardcore right-wingers who watch my channel who don't agree with some of the political things, my opinions, but respect me enough because I respect you enough. And that's a mutual respect. And that's what I'm after. A mutual respect for all of us, to care deeply about each other. But at the same time, once in a while, I just say fuck everybody. It's weird. Most of the time I care about, I should say, I always care about the people, but as far as bringing in, or, because I've had these discussions with people before, they're like, well, some people aren't worth my time, and fuck them, I hate them, and I don't care, and I won't even try to discuss things with them. I'm one of the people who does, even if I completely disagree with the person, because I've seen minds changed with a little bit of rational discourse. Not always, but it's what I think is important, and I guess that's maybe my job. Not my job, but my thing. That's what I do. I want to try to understand people. Understanding people helps me understand the world. But I see something that we're on the precipice of a major change right now. And it's not going to be pretty. And this is where I have to get doom and gloom, because this is what I mean when I say I care about people. I would love to see a future utopia where we have 8 billion people on this planet living in harmony with renewable energy and taking care of each other. We could do it. Of course we could do it. We have more than the means to do it. If we weren't wasting money on particle accelerators, and we were building greenhouses instead, or, growing facilities, even if the shit hits the fan, we've still got some way to grow food. We're pretty fucking smart. Let's just put it that way. We can figure things out, but we don't want to, because there's a part of us that just destroys for the gain of a short-term interest, and that's something that we've carried with us. Even if you don't, it's funny, why would we have this part of us? And for those who are religious, it would be Satan, the devil. It's always the scapegoat for that part of us that does things that are selfish. But selfishness is kind of the root of life. Not being selfish in the way that we define it, but taking care of yourself first and being comfortable, and then seeing that you want to make others comfortable. Because if you don't take care of yourself and you don't feel good about life, you're just going to treat others like shit. And I see it all the time. The people who point the fingers are usually the ones who have the most problems of their own. So, anyhow, the other side of that utopia, the side I don't even want to say, is that a major catastrophe is likely to happen, which will just wipe us out. And I'm not saying it's maybe, a huge cataclysm where we die instantly. It's that we are so interdependent and so dependent upon the system of commerce and shipping and air flight and electricity and money that we wouldn't know what the hell to do if the power went out for a week. I mean, it would devastate our whole economy. And that's like when people talk about how bad the economy is, they're like, invest in Bitcoin. I'm like, you think that's going to work if the shit hits the fan and all the computers are off? I mean, I'd rather have gold or silver, personally, but I don't want to get into economics here because that's for a totally separate video, but hopefully this wasn't too much of a ramble. When I speak, I feel like I can cover topics that otherwise I really, it's like when I start, I'm like, what am I going to say? And then it just kind of comes out, and I learn things that I didn't realize I knew sometimes, and that's partially why I do this too. So maybe my message in a paragraph would be, it's okay to be ambivalent about things, which is having an unsure, not able to make a decision, or what we call a cognitive dissonance even, which is where you know something's wrong but you do it anyway, or you know something's right but you're not doing it, or you have mixed feelings about things. Those are okay. The fact that we have that tells us that we're conscientious and we're aware, and our brains are trying to sort out the values and details. And if we build a value system based on doing the right thing just for the sake of doing the right thing, not for not getting caught, which seems to be the way of our society. In other words, hey, if you can do a white-collar crime and get away with it, make your billions. That's complete bullshit, and it's a disrespect for your fellow man. And so just remember, every gain often comes at the cost from someone else if it's in excess of what a person deserves. And that's not just money, financial. If, it's power. And if you're treating people like shit, then, just adding to the problem. So I don't know what the solution is, but I'm sure that all of you have the solution to this problem and how we can get along and live in a utopian society. If you do, feel free to leave a comment. Thanks for watching, and may the force be with you all. Peace.